I do not own Biker Mice from Mars, Initial D, or any of its characters. No money was made from this production. Biker Mice from Mars belongs to Rick Unger, and Initial D belongs to Suichi Shigeno.
Biker Mice from Mars.
Biker Mice from Mars, Mountain Drift. Chapter 21, Race for Freedom. All 6 cars pulled up to the starting line. Yuya was in first, since he was the current speed master. Manuel had to start in dead last, since he was a newcomer to the competition. He looked to the sidelines, and to his surprise, saw Bob Sampson with the Bogus Broncos, along with all the members of the Scorpions and 5th Street Drifters. They were holding banners with Manuel's name and words of encouragement. Manuel smiled and then turned back to the starting line. The announcer was there, and there was a small LED sign with a countdown on it, counting down the seconds until the racers could take off.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the wildest race in the world. It's now time to decide this year's Speed Master. Are you ready? Alrighty then, let's get this started. Racers, start your engines and prepare for the drive of your lives.
Manuel looked up at Yuya's NSX in first. He needed to pass 4 cars by the time they hit the crossroads of Pleasant Valley and Thompson Road. Okay, I can do this, he kept thinking to himself. I will win. I have to, he thought as he gripped the steering wheel tightly. Everyone that had not started their cars by now had them running. Everyone was revving their engines up.
Alrighty then, let's start the countdown!
The announcer said. The LED then started to count down the time until the racers could take off. Manuel's heart started to race from adrenaline, the crowd yelling out the numbers.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Manuel threw the Focus into first gear and floored the gas, taking off the finish line. Shortly afterwards, they were speeding down the Orchard Access Road away from the reservoir at speed much faster than his mountain racing at Bogus, accelerating and hitting speeds that made his old Civic look like it was standing still. As he sped down the road, he started to work on passing the 4 cars that were between him and Yuya. He caught the first car on the first curve, then passed the second at a long straight. The next driver was much more aggressive than the first 2 and tried to block Manuel's lane. Manuel pulled from the outside to the inside and passed him as they exited a long curve. As they got on another straightaway, Manuel started to shift into the higher gears. The speeds he was starting to hit were unbelievable. He had never driven this fast in his life. He quickly caught up to the top 2 racers. The next car seemed to be having engine problems. Figures, Manuel thought. The Kirifudas had no doubt sabotaged that one. He passed the car, leaving it in dust as it pulled over. Yuya was now the only racer between him and victory. However, the race was far from over. Yuya looked in his rearview mirror as he saw a car's headlights on the access road straightaway right behind him. He then recognized the car as Manuel's Focus.
So, he's made it this far, huh?
He got on his pit comlink.
LL, have your units run interference for the drift,
He said. As Manuel drove, he got right behind Yuya, the Focus close enough to be tapping on the NSX's bumper. Manuel needed to get ahead or this wouldn't be victory. He pulled alongside to pass, then saw several traffic cars in front of him, right on mark for a collision. Manuel was forced to pull behind Yuya again to avoid a head-on collision. He got on his pit comlink. Takumi, there's still traffic on the course. I thought you said it was all blocked off. Manuel said as they went through the curvy sections of the access road, approaching 120 miles per hour.
Wait, what? There shouldn't be, it's all been blocked off.
Takumi said. Bunta then got on the link.
Careful, Manuel. Kaido is up to his old tricks, and I have no doubt Throttle's adversaries are involved as well. He couldn't sabotage your car, so he's using the next best method. They'll try to slow you down by any means necessary, even if it's plain dirty. My only device is to try and get around them. Whatever you do, do not crash.
Manuel ground his teeth in frustration. He needed to get ahead of Yuya. He pulled up alongside Yuya once there was no more opposing cars, and floored the pedal as he shifted into his 6th gear, overtaking the NSX as they got onto the convoy.
LL, what the hell are you units doing? I thought I told you to slow him down!
Yuya snapped over his comlink.
We are trying to slow him down, Mr. Karafuda.
Limburger snapped back through the comlink.
We're just having trouble.
I do not care what you're having trouble with! Slow him down or I will personally run you over once this event is finished!
Yuya snapped and ripped the headset off his head, throwing it into the back of the car. He then noticed that Manuel was starting to pass him again. Well, he wasn't going to have that. He stepped on the gas trying to overtake the Focus and caught up to him easily. His lightweight NSX may only have a twin-turbo inline-6, but what it lacked in power, it made up for with lightweight. They were side by side again. Another of the anonymous cars hired to run interference passed by the Focus as they went through another set of curves. They were now on Pleasant Valley. Manuel saw the oncoming car and had no choice but to brake and dive behind Yuya's car again, costing him valuable ground. This wasn't working in his favor. But he wasn't about to give up. He knew his Focus could match Yuya Kirafuda's NSX thanks to its supercharged V8 camera. Hell, it could even outrun it possibly. All he needed to do was get past him, but these oncoming cars were making it very difficult. Not to mention risky. Don't let me down now, brother. Your car has brought me this far. Manuel was now unsure if there was any more surprises, but knew if he didn't do something to catch up to Yuya that he would lose. They were already on the final straights. Hector, if you can hear me, help me win. For Throttle and for you. Manuel then floored the gas pedal, throwing the car into 6th gear. Kirafuda looked out his rearview mirror again to see Manuel pass him. How could this be? His car was supposed to be superior, not Manuel's.
Where the hell do you think you're going?
Yuya snapped, aggravated. He went into 5th gear and floored the gas. Then he saw it. The Focus ZX3 SVT was starting to inch ahead. The gap began to widen more by the second.
No! No one is faster than me! No one is faster than me! No one!
Yuya, enraged, hit a button on his performance computer, taking the turbos up past 2 bar. It was a fatal mistake that would cost him the race. It was simply too much pressure for the engine to handle. Yuya's engine blew apart. The hood to the engine flew off as smoke poured from the engine head, and sparks flew from underneath the car where the oil pan detached, as the engine literally tore itself apart from the inside. Yuya couldn't believe it. He had lost. Then, in the middle of the road, he saw eyes. Glowing eyes. He was still going well over 100 miles per hour. He freaked out on seeing those eyes, thinking they were dead opponents back from the grave, and swerved out of the way. He was going much too fast to control his car in such a fashion, and the car flew off the road, rolling over into the sagebrush. He saw Manuel steer his car around the eyes, tires squealing, and watched as the Focus continued to roar down the road. Damn coyotes! Manuel thought as he drifted around a bunch of coyotes that ran across the road. He was now in the lead. He wasn't sure what last-ditch trick Yuya tried to pull, but it looked like he put too much pressure on the turbos. He watched in his rearview as the Acura tore itself apart as the car rolled into the sagebrush. Manuel was now in first place. He just needed to keep this position for several more miles. He stayed on course as he neared the finish line at the end of Pleasant Valley Road. He just needed to make it across Cunamora Road, and he would be the winner. This is it, Manuel thought. The Focus went across Cunamora, crossing the designated finish line as a flagman waved, and a bunch of fans at the finish line cheered, cameras flashing and recording. Manuel then eased up on the pedal, and after the car slowed to about 30 mph, he hit the brakes hard, power sliding to a stop. He had won the Speedmaster competition. He was now the new Speedmaster champion.